Oh, I see. Gotcha. All right, so now it's a sad little dude trying to get some money. Gotcha. Gross score. Drocho for 9 months. Christ, it's been 9 months. I'm only resubbing in hopes that DeBear will be welcoming me back to the Leppy. Oh, that's fair. Dooley Labs. Yo, Cry, this little shit Drocho is threatening to kill bears in front of the bear enthusiasts. Fucking stop him, please. Bears didn't do nothing. I mean, like, you can't really prove that.
Objects. The pickup objects, the player's sphere, the ground plane, and the walls all have colliders that inform us about collisions. If we didn't test our collisions to find out which objects we've collided with, we could collect the wrong objects. We could collect the floor or the walls. As a matter of fact, if we didn't test our collisions, on the very first frame of the game, we would come in contact with the ground plane, and we would collect the ground plane, and then we would fall into the void of the scene space, and the game would essentially be over. First, we don't need our player to remain inactive, so let's tick the active checkbox and bring back our player.
It looks like a golf ball.
Next, let's select the player controller script and open it for editing. Just a note, we could edit this script regardless of whether the game object is active or not.
I still have this available.
Now that we have the script open, what code are we going to write?
Don't know.
We could write collider, and then search the documentation using the hotkey combination. But there is a different way that we could do this as well. Let's return to Unity and look at the details of our player game object. What we are interested in here is the sphere collider component. In the header of each component on the left is the component's turn-down arrow, the icon, the enabled checkbox if it's available, and the type of the component. On the right is the context-sensitive gear gizmo, and an icon of a little book with a question mark. Now this is what we need. This is the quick link to the component reference.
Wait a second. The help thing is actually useful in a program? What are you saying? Life has changed. Okay. Alright. Player. Click. What the fuck? What do you expect from me? Look at you. Look at you, you dirty bird.
If we select this icon, we are taken not to the scripting reference, but to the component reference. We would read this document to find out more about how to use this component in the context of the editor. We, however, want to find out how to script to this component's class. To do this, we simply switch to scripting, and we are taken to the scripting reference for the sphere collider. We want to detect and test our collisions. For this project, we are going to use onTriggerEnter. Just imagine if we were, say, a daring plumber, and we jumped up to collect a perfect arc of coins.
Yo, I know what
and
he's
bounced
referencing.
off the very first one as we collected it and fell back to the ground. Not very elegant. This code will give us the ability to detect the contact between our player game object and our pickup game objects without actually creating a physical collision. The code example, however, is not exactly what we're looking for. But that's okay. We can change that. First, let's copy the code.
We're copying?
And then let's return to our scripting application. Now that we're...
Whoa. We're being evil people that day? Okay, I mean, if he says to do it. I mean, who am I to say no? Who am I to say no? We're copying.
Collision. The code example, however, is not exactly what we're looking for.
Coding is literally 90%. Copy and paste? Oh, okay.
But that's okay. We can change that.
It's okay.
First, let's copy the code.
Oh, we just want that bit?
And let's return to our script.
Oh, okay. I thought we wanted the other bits. That's why I was double checking. Thank you for letting me know, sir.
Scripting application. Now that we're back in scripting, let's paste the code.
Oh my God.
As we have copied this code from a web page, let's correct the indents.
What?
In this case, I'm going to make sure the indents are...
Hold on a second. Apparently, I don't know how to control C anymore. Continue on, sir. I'm sorry. Whoops.
Tabs, and that all of the tabs are correctly aligned.
What?
Next, let's look at this code. We are using the function onTriggerEnter. OnTriggerEnter will be called by you.
Hold on a second. Okay. Okay. What? It doesn't let me control V. This is terrible. Unity has disabled copying. I gotta type it. Heck. This is the worst. You didn't copy? I just showed you I copied it. That proof right there that I copied it. What is, all right, hold on. What is this program that I'm using? Could I use any program? Is it just because I'm using Unity's thing? Do I need to use this? I have no idea. I have no clue. Make sure your game isn't running. That's a good call, actually. I just wanted to run it again really quick. I don't know why. All right, it's not running. I have it saved. And now, dude, that's very strange. I'm gonna hit Control S and I'm going to exit all this and I'm gonna open it up again. I'll try that. Open. Right click. I tried right click as well, actually. Okay. Very weird. I had to restart it. Huh. I wonder why that's the case. Huh. Well, we fixed it. Alright, what were you saying, sir?
Let's correct the indents. In this case, I'm going to make sure the indents are tabs and that all of the tabs are correctly aligned. Next, let's look at this code. We are using the function onTriggerEnter. OnTriggerEnter will be called by Unity when our player game object first touches a trigger collider. We are given as an argument a reference to the trigger collider that we have touched. This is the collider called Other. This reference gives us a way to get a hold of the colliders that we touch. With this code, when we touch another trigger collider, we will destroy the game object that the trigger collider is attached to through the reference other.gameObject.
Oh, okay.
By destroying that game object, the game object, all of its components, and all of its children and their components are removed from the scene.
Like the whole family.
For the sake of example in this assignment, we won't destroy the other game object, we will deactivate it. Just like we deactivated the player object when we were creating our pickup objects. First, let's remove the destroy other game object code from the function. But let's paste it down below our script as a palette to work with. How will we deactivate our pickup object?
Deactivate?
Well, what clues do we have? We can address the other collider's game object through other.gameObject. We can see this here in the sample code. And we want to test the other game object, and if it's a pickup object, we want to deactivate that game object. So let's look up game object with our hotkey combination and see what we can find. Now we have the page on game object. There are a few important items here that we want. They are tag. Tag allows us to identify a game object by comparing the tag value to a string. And setActive. This is how we activate or deactivate a game object through code. The last item we need to know about is compare tag. Compare tag allows us to efficiently compare the tag of any game object to a string value. Let's open up these three items, each in their own tab.
Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Hang on, let's go to these other tabs I got here. Okay. Alright. So, game object. Okie dokie. Game object. Tag. Compare tag. and set active, right? Yes. Continue, sir.
Tag allows us to identify a game object by a tag value. We must declare our tags in the Tags and Layers panel before using them. It is possible to test a tag against a string value directly with code like if GameObject.tag is the same as some string value. But there is a more efficient built-in way to do this, and that is compare tag. With compare tag, we can efficiently compare the tag of any game object with a string value. Let's copy the sample code and paste it into our working palette.
Dude, copying and pasting is like the best thing ever invented. I'm so glad it exists.
Now, GameObject set active. This is how we activate or deactivate a game object. This is the code equivalent of clicking the active checkbox next to the name field in the inspector.
Okay.
In our case,
And then if we wanted to bring it in, we would just change false to true, yeah?
just like the code snippet, we will call GameObject setActive false to deactivate our pickup game objects. Let's copy this
Okay. Is this another reference point? Cool.
code. And returning to our script editor, paste it into our palette as well. I feel we have enough pieces to write our code.
Okay.
So let's write if other.gameObject.compare tag with the string value of pickup. And we will have to declare this tag in Unity
shit, this
later.
guy types fast.
Other.gameObject.setActive false.
Oh god. Okay. I'm really
Now
bad with
this code will
squiggly.
be called every time we touch a trigger collider. We are given a reference to the collider we touch. We test its tag, and if the tag is the same as the string value pickup,
I'm sorry,
we
I'm
will
gonna have
take
to
the
listen
other
to this
game
again.
object and we will call setActive false, which will deactivate that game object.
I'm sorry, sir. Say that one more time for me. I was typing.
Activate a game object. So let's write if other.gameObject.compare tag with the string value of pickup. And we will have to declare this tag in Unity later. Other.gameObject.setActive false. Now this code will be called every time we touch a trigger collider. We are given a reference to the collider we touch. We test its tag, and if the tag is the same as the string value pickup, we will take the other game object and we will call setActive false, which will deactivate that game object. Now,
Okay, so what this is... Okay, so what I'm going to apparently be doing then is I'm going to set the actual pickup script to have the tag pickup. So then if I ever do come into contact with the pickup, it will call on this script here, which will infer to setting it active as in false, so then it'll kill it. That's what that means? I'm learning today.
we don't need this code we've been saving anymore, and keeping it will only confuse the compiler, so we can delete it. Let's save this script and return to Unity and check for errors.
Like, I know it's probably not that impressive and shit, but I'm proud of myself for learning this basic ass shit. It's nice. Oh yeah, let's see. I gotta run it if there's any issues. No issues. It's not gonna work yet because we don't have a tag set. But okay, cool.
The first thing we need to do is set up the tag value
Oh,
for
we're
the
gonna set a
pickup
tag now.
objects.
Okay.
Select the prefab asset for the pickup object.
How do you do that?
When we look at the tag list, we don't see any tag
Oh.
called pickup,
We gotta add a tag.
so we need to add.
Cool. Okay. Boop. 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 List is empty. All right, let's keep listening. What were you saying?
Add one. Select Add Tag. And this brings up the Tags and Layers panel.
Plus, I'm going to.
Here
right?
we can customize tags and layers. Note that this tags list is empty. To create a new custom tag, select the plus button to add a new row to the tags list. In the new empty element, in our case tag 0, type pickup. And this is case sensitive and needs to be exactly the same string that we have in our script.
In the script, we did the same thing, right? Okay, so we actually do the pick space up for this one, even though everything else we've ever done in the game has been the other one. Okay, so you pick up. It's case sensitive. Good to know.
If in doubt, we can copy and paste this string to get the exact value. When we look back at the prefab asset, note that the asset is still untagged.
Wait. Okay, so if this is the case now, go here, you pick up, play. Let's see if it works. Fuck! It doesn't work. Hold on. Does it work for these? No. Okay, we didn't do it right. Or we're missing something. We'll see.
By selecting Add Tag, we changed our focus from the prefab asset to the Tag Manager. And in the Tag Manager, we created our tag. Now we need to apply that tag to the prefab
add the
asset.
trigger? Select collider to trigger. It's not a... Okay, alright, let's keep watching.
Select the Tag drop-down again, and see how we now have Pickup in the list. Select this tag from the list, and the asset is now tagged Pickup. And, with the power of prefabs, all of the instances are now tagged Pickup as well.
And ain't that the best?
Now let's test our game. Save the scene and enter play mode.
If his works, I'm gonna be so tilted. Yes.
Okay. Our tag is set to Pickup.
He got stumped like we did.
Bouncing off the pickup cubes, just
He's
like
just
we were
playing it
bouncing off
cool.
the walls. So let's exit play mode. Before we discuss why we are bouncing off the pickup cubes rather than picking them up, we need to have a brief discussion about Unity's physics system. I'm going to enter play mode for this discussion.
Explain.
Let's look at one of our cubes and our player. As an aside, we can select 2 or more game objects at the same time and inspect them all. We do this by holding down the Command key on the Mac or the Control key on the PC and selecting the game objects. When we select multiple game objects, note how the inspector changes to show the common components and property values of the selected game objects. The inspector also allows for multi-object editing. Using multi-object editing, I'm going to disable the mesh renderer on both the player sphere and the selected cube with a single click. This leaves us with the 2 green outlines of the collider
Let me make
volumes.
sure I can do this thing. It seems very basic, but I don't want to assume. Why don't I see that? I don't have these here. How does he have those? Huh. That's awkward. Why don't I see that? Select the child of your pickup. The parent is just an empty game object. Oh, right. That's true. So, whoop, sorry. There we go. Okay, got it.
For these 2 objects. How do collisions
And then, boop. We did it.
work in Unity's physics engine? The physics engine does not allow 2 collider volumes to overlap. When the physics engine detects that any 2 or more colliders will overlap that frame, the physics engine will look at the objects and analyze their speed and rotation and shape, and calculate a collision. One of the major factors in this calculation is whether the colliders are static or dynamic. Static colliders are usually non-moving parts of your scene, like the walls, the floor, or the fountain in the courtyard. Dynamic colliders are things that move, like the player's sphere or a car. When calculating a collision, the static geometry will not be affected by the collision, but the dynamic objects will be. In our case, the player's sphere is dynamic or moving geometry, and it is bouncing off the static geometry of the cubes, just as it bounces off the static geometry of the walls. The physics engine can, however, allow the penetration or overlap of collider volumes. When it does this, the physics engine still calculates the collider volumes and keeps track of the collider overlap. But it doesn't physically act on the overlapping objects. It doesn't cause a collision. We do this by making our colliders into triggers or trigger colliders. When we make our colliders into a trigger or trigger collider, we can detect the contact with that trigger through the on-trigger event messages. When a collider is a trigger, you can do clever things like place a trigger in the middle of a doorway in, say, an adventure game. And when the player enters the trigger, the minimap updates and a message plays, "You have discovered this room." Or every time your player walks around that corner, spiders drop from the ceiling, because the player has walked through a trigger. For more information on collision and on-trigger messages, see the lessons linked below. We are using on-trigger enter in our code rather than on-collision enter, so we need to change our collider volumes into trigger volumes. To do this, we must be out of play mode. Let's select the prefab asset and look at the box collider component. Here we select is trigger, and again, the power of prefabs, all of our pickup objects are now using trigger collider.
Okay. Alright, so. Boop. Am I gonna have the same issue as the last time where I gotta pick this one? Got it.
Let's
So
save
these are all gonna have that, right? Yes.
our scene, enter play mode, and test.
We're there! We've hit the point! We get the stuff! Check it. Fuck. I did tag the wrong thing. Bam. Check it. Easy. So now. Okay, alright. Fuck. Shit. Wait. Fuck. Ooh. Okay, what did we do? What did we do wrong? These both have the pickup thing. They're both tagged pickup. Okay. Let me double check really quick. I did do it! Okay, we did do it. Okay, alright. See? We just had to restart it. Look at this. Look at this. Look at these gets. Bam! Alright, okay. It was all okay, so the only thing we did wrong was we set the parent, I believe, as the tag instead of the actual object. I believe that's how that works, right? Guys, we're doing it. Oh my god.
And as our player enters the trigger, we pick up the objects. Excellent. Let's exit play mode.
Well, we're all doing this together, right? Everyone's got Unity and we're doing this together? Right.
Everything looks great.
I know.
We only have one issue.
What?
We have made one small mistake.
Fuck.
And this is related to how Unity optimizes its physics. As a performance optimization, Unity calculates all the volumes of all the static colliders in a scene and holds this information in a cache. This makes sense as static colliders shouldn't move, and this saves recalculating this information every frame. Where we have made our mistake is by rotating our cubes.
What?
Anytime we move, rotate, or scale a static collider, Unity will recalculate all the static colliders again and update the static collider cache. To recalculate the cache takes resources.
Thanks, Snarky.
We can move, rotate,
Oh, so right now we have a... Okay, so right now with how it's set up, it's gonna like take too much memory just for something so simple. So right now we're gonna optimize it. Is that what he's talking about? AKA what like so many fucking early access games don't know how to do?
scale dynamic colliders as often as we want, and Unity won't recache any collider volumes. Unity expects us to move colliders.
Okay, so this is what this is. Okay, cool.
We simply need to indicate to Unity which colliders are dynamic before we move them. We do this by using...
So are you saying every single early access game has never done this part of this tutorial? They always forgot this bit right here.
Rigid body component.
I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that. I'm just fucking around.
Any game object with a collider and a rigid body is considered dynamic.
Oh, you have a static thing which acts as dynamic. I see. Gotcha.
Any game object with a collider attached but no physics rigid body is expected to be static.
So since this is a simple thing right here. Okay, actually he was just explaining it right there.
Collider attached but no... Any game object with a collider and a rigid body is considered dynamic. Any game object with a collider attached but no physics rigid body is expected to be static.
Ah.
Currently, our pickup game objects have a box collider, but no rigid body. So Unity is recalculating our static collider cache every frame. The solution is to add a rigid body to the pickup objects. This will move the cubes from being static colliders to being dynamic colliders. Let's save and play.
Okay. Wait. I thought we want them to be static, though. I'm confused. I'm a little confused, but I'll follow along. Alright, so... Shit. Actually, how did I do this? Was it create rigid body? I'm sorry. Go back one more time, sir. I apologize. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Is expected to be static. Currently, our pickup game objects have a box collider, but no rigid body. So Unity is recalculating our static collider cache every frame. The solution is to add a rigid body to the pickup objects.
Oh, add component. Okay.
This will move the cubes from being static colliders to being...
Okay. Oops, wrong one. Okay, so pick up, add component, physics, rigid body. Recalculating the lights and collision every frame equals this shouldn't be static because we are calculating this every frame, which falls into dynamic category. Okay.
Dynamic colliders. Let's save and play. And our cubes fall through the floor.
They're dead.
Gravity pulls them down. And
Use
as
gravity.
they are triggers, they don't collide with the floor.
Uncheck it.
Let's exit play mode.
Uncheck it.
If we look at the rigid body component, we could simply
I
disable...
want to see him do it. I just want to see it, alright? Is that so bad? There they go. Alright, so uncheck use gravity.
use gravity, which would prevent the cubes from being pulled downwards. This is only a partial solution, however. If we did this, even though our cubes would not respond to gravity, they would still respond to physics forces. There is a better solution, and that is to select is kinematic. When we do this, we set this rigid body component to be a kinematic rigid body. A kinematic rigid body will not react to physics forces, and it can be animated and moved by its transform. This is great for everything from objects with colliders, like elevators and moving platforms,
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Gotcha.
to objects with triggers, like our collectibles, that need to be animated or moved by their transform. For more information on the rigid body and is kinematic, see the lessons linked below. Let's save our scene and enter play mode to test.
I have a question, actually. Why, when it fell through the floor, why didn't... Okay, so these right here. When it wasn't kinetic, it falls to the